10 minutes is a long time when it comes to film. If it's bad, it can feel like it's dragging on forever. If it's good, you can never want it to stop. My name is Ted Wilkes, and in this Sight Unsound series, I'm going to be breaking down some of the most iconic and important 10 minutes of film and TV to try and give you some insight into the textual analysis behind them. Today, we're starting with the opening 10 and a bit pages of Breaking Bad's screenplay, and how that even the tiniest details within Vince Gilligan's work help propel the narrative of the pilot forward and set up the conflicts and dilemmas for the remainder of the 5-season series. I'm mainly focusing on the first 10 pages of the scripted version of the show, which has moments that did not make it to broadcast, but will make some references to moments that are only in the filmed pilot episode, and beyond. Be warned, there might be spoilers. Welcome to 10 Minute Textualism. Breaking Bad opens with a long tease of our protagonist, Walter White, escaping from the law in a Winnebago, or meth lab. Although the tease is more to arouse our curiosity with questions as to how and why our characters have ended up in this predicament, it also gives us some information about the series. Firstly, when we meet Walter, he is obviously not cut out for a life of crime. He is an ingenue in the world of cooking meth, displayed to us by his unsuitable attire for the job and his panicked speech to camera about the decisions that brought him to this point. He also begins to mention his family and shows us his school ID card, making direct references to the ordinary world that he first came from, his typical precinct, which will be brought into conflict with the new one he finds in his life of crime. The main imagery in the first few scenes is of sleeping. Walt lies next to his wife, half asleep, staring over at the clock. He decides to get out of bed and moves to use the stair stepper, which mimics the action of sleepwalking. It could be argued that the first episode is Walt's journey to wake up. He needs to recognise he has cancer and to do something about it. Later in the episode, he even makes a conscious reference to this transition from his state of sleeping to being awake by telling Jesse that he is indeed awake now. Although, conversely, when we first meet Walt, he has woken up of his own accord, possibly alerting us to the fact that he already knows about his cancer and is now rather in the process of deciding what he will do about it. After he finishes exercising, Walt attempts to masturbate in the bathroom, but is unable to maintain an erection and stops. It introduces us to the B story for this episode. Walt is struggling with his sexual performance. This is also key to understanding that Walter currently isn't characterised as a real man. Later in the episode, Skylar and her sister, Marie, gossip about Walter's underperformance in the bedroom, and later still, Skylar barely pays attention as she is intimate with Walter for his birthday. Her gratification coming not from the action she is performing, but the fact that she has made money selling a trinket online. We can see the growth of Walt in the episode, as in the final frames he is able to make confident, if a little forceful, love to his wife that the pair of them appear to enjoy. The theme of Walt's change in this area can be further compounded with a scene in Season 5 when Walt corners and dominates Skylar in bed. We are then shown Walter at the breakfast table with his family, Skylar and Walter Jr., his son. This is obviously the family unit, not just in a biological sense, but also part of the family of the show. It appears from the outset that they look out for one another. Skylar even states, "We need to think about our cholesterol," joining the whole family under Walt with the use of "we." The notion that the family will also soon be joined by a new arrival is shown to us with a deliberate reference to a new crib that is being built in the spare room. This again reinforces the ingenue status of Walt. He will soon be a father again, to a girl this time, which will be a new experience for him. The table which they sit at becomes a recurring motif throughout the series. It absorbs some of the other characters in the show who become a pseudo-family for us to follow. For example, during one episode, the Whites have Jesse over for dinner. Unable to fully understand family dynamics, Jesse is only able to make stilted conversation, and it appears that when the two worlds that Walter is straddling collide, family man and meth kingpin, they are unable to blend. This shows the central conflict in the series at its most basic level. Now at work, Walter delivers one of the more famous speeches of the series, explaining that the study of chemistry is all about change. His monologue foreshadows his own growth and development throughout the series. During the first episodes, Walter delivers various other monologues that are similar to this, which come to show us his subconscious leaking through his ego defences as he begins to transition from Walter to Heisenberg. They also alert us to the fact that Walter is a competent chemist. This will be a key skill that our protagonist will take into his adventure world, as his expertise will make him stand out amongst the other meth cooks that, at least in the beginning, he meets. As he slides into the world of crime, this skill will become a source of great conflict within the first season, as those he works with insist that making meth is an art and not a science, which Walter professes it is, but also the thing which will allow him to survive. After his class is over, Walter has a discussion with another teacher called Margaret, where the central conflict of the series is once again reinforced. She smokes in front of Walter, a nod to the cancer that it will soon be revealed that Walter has, and asks him not to narc on her, slang for narcotics, the business that Walter will soon find himself in. It is also the first time in the pilot script that we are made aware that it is Walter's birthday. In the show, this is flagged up at the breakfast table. In the scripted version, this roots Walt further in his precinct of the high school. He is both a well-liked and well-respected member of the faculty. However, the most interesting aspect of the exchange is the following. Walt: "Those things will kill you, you know." Margaret: "Something always does." In this, we are alerted to one of the main themes within Breaking Bad. What is it to know that you are going to die? Margaret, for the moment, seems to embrace the idea that death is inevitable and that it almost should be welcomed. Walt, on the other hand, is obviously not a smoker himself and seems preoccupied by his own mortality. The decision to set the opening episode on Walt's birthday further reinforces the notion that he is an ingenue, as he is entering into a new stage of his life physically. The first 10 pages of the pilot end with Walter being unhappy that he is being thrown a surprise party for his birthday. It is interesting to note that later in a subsequent episode, 50-51, Walter is now well on his way to transitioning into his alter ego, Heisenberg, and now expects to receive a party for his 51st birthday. He is disappointed that there isn't a fuss made of him because he is now much more secure in his new identity. So, what did you guys think? Are there moments in Breaking Bad that you saw in a different way? Is there anything that I might have missed? Or are there any other shows or films that you'd like us to cover here in 10 Minute Textualism? Drop us a comment below this video, and don't forget that you can like and subscribe to make sure that you never miss out on any new Sight Unsound videos.